welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about my adopted home, Toronto, the North, the Six, home of the Blue Jays, the Maple Leafs, the CN Tower, smokes Poutine, the Wkend, and Drake. Yes, Champagne Papi himself. Not only is Toronto the home of all of these gems, it's also the home to a wealth of urban legends. Stay tuned as I bring you the top 10 Toronto urban legends. Before we roll into this video, I want to hear what city you're from or whether or not your home has some creepy legends going on of its very own. Also, if you want to hit that thumbs up button, we would really enjoy that. Also, if you guys want to connect with me on social media, my links are in the description box down below. You might even see some good pictures of Toronto there. Coming in at number 10, we have the ghost of Old Finch Road. Ah, the Old Finch Road. This road divides residential Scarborough and the forest, already very spooky, and it's located near the Toronto Zoo. According to frequenters of the road, a girl named Sue or Susie died near a bridge on the Old Finch Road on her birthday. Bad luck for Susie. People often go to the stretch and sing happy birthday in order to provoke the ghost of Susie, who's said to cry or shriek when she hears the song. The legend is supported by local graffiti in the area. The words happy birthday are spray painted onto a nearby rock. Local newspapers don't seem to reflect any girl named Susie being killed on her birthday in the area, but the location has been a hotspot for crime over the years. Despite the lack of archive evidence, anyone who frequents the area will tell you about the crazy moans and screams they hear along the road at night. However, there may be a logical explanation: the proximity to the zoo. When agitated, the fowl have been known to emit a foul noise. Is the ghost of Susie just a particularly angry peacock? Toronto has its very own Nessie at number 9. We have the Serpent of Lake Ontario. Is there a snake in the lake? Maybe. This is possible according to legend anyway. Back when Toronto was called York and Canada wasn't called Canada, settlers noticed something going on in Lake Ontario. Sure enough, they consulted the Seneca and legend told of a huge beast. This beast was called Gassian Dether and was said to live at the depths of the lake. According to the Seneca, the serpent could shoot fire from its mouth. As the 1800s progressed and the city eventually became Toronto developed, more reports of a huge 30-foot snake in the lake just kept on surfacing. It seems old Snakey in the Lakey liked to swim. He was also spotted in Kingston, Ontario, leading to popular legends of Kingstie. Many cryptozoologists think the lake monster could be some kind of old dinosaur, a large long-necked marine reptile. The last time someone spotted old Snaky Gassy was in the late 1960s. Is he still out there? Coming into number 8, we have the mystery of the whale bones. The whale bones of Lake Ontario have caused a lot of mystery and debate and sparked their own urban legends. Basically, in 1987, construction on the harbourfront streetcar terminal began, and an 11,000-year-old whale vertebrae was unearthed. This led to many considering the possibility that whales had swum in Lake Ontario, although geologists, zoologists, and scientists alike didn't think that happened. If they didn't though, how did the bones come to be in that area by the lake? Some think they came from an old exhibited whale carcass at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel. When the whale became too degraded to show, portions were disposed of in the lake. Now, DNA testing on the bone may lend credence to this theory. The bone turned out to be just a few hundred years old, not thousands. Its placement in the lake, however, is still up for debate and a cause of great mystery. Coming into number 7, we have the ghosts of Casa Loma. Ghosts just love haunting a castle, don't they? Casa Loma is a relatively new castle built in 1914 as a Gothic revival mansion by Sir Henry Pellet. The castle-style mansion is said to be haunted by a number of ghosts, firstly by Mr. and Mrs. Pellet themselves, the original owners, who were turfed out when they could no longer afford the upkeep. The most cited ghost, however, is a lady in white. She's been spotted all over the building. The White Lady is someone we believe to have been a maid who worked in the castle in its early days of operation. Now, this was around the time when Toronto was plagued with an influenza that killed 60,000 people. Casa Loma is frequently visited by ghost tourists and puts on a banging Halloween spooky house event. Gotta go there. Coming into number 6, we have the tunnel monsters of Cabbagetown. Cabbagetown is a pretty cool area slightly east of downtown Toronto. You can get a good curry near Cabbagetown, although there might be more than this neighbourhood of the 6 than meets the eye. In March 1979, 51-year-old Ernest was looking for his lost cat along his Parliament Street neighbourhood. His search led him to a tunnel opening. Now as he wiggled in the tunnel, flashlight in hand, he saw something that truly tested his beliefs. His light illuminated a furry, monkey-looking creature with orangey red eyes and large teeth. He described the thing as being 3 feet tall with the ability to speak. The creature hissed and told him to go away before it ran off down a tunnel. Ernest then spoke to a journalist at The Sun and said the entrance of the tunnel was in a sewage system that runs under the subway. Being a big local news publication, a lot of people read the article and were very intrigued by the sound of the tunnel monster. Many people even went out to look for it. Now despite the press coverage, nobody's ever managed to spot the creature. That being said, the description of the Cabbagetown monster is similar to that of the Memagwesi, a small water spirit according to Algonquin mythology. Could Ernest have been seeing one of those critters, and do they still live in the sewers of the city? Coming into number 5, we have the Toronto aerial jellyfish. There might be something going on in the skies of Toronto. In 2012, atmospheric jellyfish were spotted hovering over the city. Now atmospheric jellyfish are UFO sensations and have been spotted before in China, the Netherlands, Norway, and recently in Toronto, Canada. An eyewitness reported the sighting. They said, "The thing came down from above the clouds slowly, descending for about a minute before I began filming. The details are actually kind of sketchy, but I don't know, maybe he did see something." Canada's best documented UFO sighting was over a lake in Nova Scotia in the 1960s. Coming into number 4, we have the cookie ghost of Christie Mansion. The Christie family were well known in Toronto, with Christie Street named after biscuit maker William Mellis Christie. He was a self-made entrepreneur who revolutionized the Canadian biscuit industry. When he died, he left his cookie business and his assets to his son, who took up residence in the family mansion, the Christie Mansion near Queen's Park. It seems that Christie Jr. Robert Christie had a mistress as well as his wife. He had her hauled up in a secret room of his mansion. Now this room was room 29 according to legend. She had a butler and a maid to bring her food and tidy up after her, and Robert would come to her at night for their illicit rendezvous. Eventually, his interest in the woman started to wane and she could no longer stand being held prisoner waiting for him to come. She hung herself using her bed sheets and her body was secretly removed and buried in Queen's Park. Legend has it, her spirit stayed in room 29, and if anyone finds themselves alone in the room at night, the door swings shut and locks itself and you can't get out, just like she couldn't get out when Robert left her. They say that you will be stuck there until the morning. Coming into number 3, we have the Ghoul of Gibraltar Point Lighthouse. I love this lighthouse on the island. The Toronto Island is pretty much my favourite thing about the entire city, and Danny and I went with a bunch of our friends recently and he badly sunburnt his nose, so the legends about needing sun lotion when you're a pale white Irishman are true. Are the legends of the Gibraltar Point Lighthouse true though? The lighthouse on the island is one of the oldest buildings in Toronto and the second oldest lighthouse in all of Canada. It was built in 1808 and guided ships into the Toronto harbour on Lake Ontario. The story goes that a lighthouse watchman was murdered there and his ghost still haunts the tower to this day. The first keeper, Raid Muller, disappeared in January 1815, with local legends saying that he was murdered by sailors who cut up his body and buried it all around the island. Later, lighthouse keeper George Dernan was said to have dug up his jawbone. The lost spirit of Raid Muller is said to roam the island, but is most commonly haunting the tower. Coming into number 2, we have the urban legend of Tim Hortons spiking their coffee. Tim's is a Canadian institution, despite no longer actually being a Canadian-owned company. Everyone I know goes to Tim Hortons pretty regularly, and we all agree that it isn't even the greatest coffee, but something just keeps us coming back. Well, the urban legend has it that good old Tim is spiking his coffee with nicotine to make it more addictive. Some say that the brew is mixed with the drug, others say that the cups are sprayed with it so that nothing shows up when the coffee is tested from the source. The classic story seems to go that an American hops over the border to the friendly Great White North. They stay with their relatives and adopt their habit of having a Tim's every day. When they get back to the States, they have their blood tested for some kind of routine checkup, checkup, and actually, it reveals that there's a significant amount of nicotine in their bloodstream. The urban legend has become so popular that Tim Hortons even released a statement to say, "There is in fact nothing added to our coffee. We believe that our guests are addicted to consistency." I actually really somewhat doubt that. Tim Hortons coffee is wildly inconsistent. You get a good cup, you can get a bad cup. Either way, our mate Michael McCrudden loves a good Tim Hortons. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most famous Toronto stories ever. We have the legend of the Leaping Lawyer. The Leaping Lawyer of the TD Tower in Toronto's financial district has gone down as something of a morbid legend. Little did Gary Hoy know when he plunged to his death from the 24th story of the tower that he would win a slew of posthumous awards and accolades. The legend goes that a crazy banker accidentally fell to his death from the tower whilst playing a practical joke on a group of students, and actually that's pretty accurate. Hoy was a senior partner at Holden Day Wilson firm and he loved a good laugh. His party piece was testing the strength of skyscraper windows, and one day when a group of articling students were in the building, he hauled himself at a 24th floor glass window to prove how strong the glass was. The first time he played his party trick, all was well, but the second time, well, he was less fine. He fell to his death as the glass smashed. Not a great way to go. His death has gone down in history and was even included in the TV series 1000 Ways to Die. That really isn't a way that I'd like to die, to be honest with you. Nonetheless, his legend lives on. Okay, before I go, I just want to read some comments from a recent video I did about the top 10 scary deep web stories. I don't know how I feel about these scary lists, they do really freak me out, but nonetheless, I do them for you anyway. Our top comment was from Nif King Foxy, who said, "Don't go looking in the dark web. Please, I warned you." You're right. We shouldn't. You shouldn't. Just don't do it. Blueberry Pie Squad said, "I kinda believe the whole Marianas Trench thing. I don't really believe the Atlantis thing, but would actually maybe it might be true and real. Maybe somebody thought it was because they were crazy and they wrote it down. LeMayo." So I got a really sweet comment from one of our subscribers, so I just wanted to shout them out really quickly. Kitty Cat said, "Rebecca, I would just like you to know that you always make my life a lot better every time you host an episode. Thank you so much for everything you do, even though some of your videos scare me sometimes. Don't even worry, they scare me too, but we're in this together, so thank you, and thank you for watching." Thank you guys once again for tuning in to this episode of Most Amazing Top 10. I hope you liked our Toronto urban legends. Should we do a city near you? If so, let me know which city in the comment section down below. For now, I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. If you want to connect with me on social media, my links are in the description box. I would love it if you left a big thumbs up on this video, shared it with a friend, and join me next time.